Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are looking at a company that you think you know.
You really do.
You probably have their products in your bathroom cabinet right now. We're talking about Johnson & Johnson. But, and I need to stress this right up front, if you're picturing baby powder and Band-Aids, you are looking at a snapshot from maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, easily.
The company we're analyzing today, based on their Q4 2025 earnings call, which just wrapped up on January 21st, 2026, has turned into something, well, almost unrecognizable.
Unrecognizable is exactly the right words. It's a completely different beast. The CEO, Joaquin Duato, he used a specific phrase on the call.
Oh, yeah.
He called 2025 a catapult year.
A catapult. Okay, that implies a lot of force and, a lot of distance.
Exactly. And when you look at the financials, the metaphor really holds up. They pulled in $94.2 billion in sales for 2025. But the headline that really matters, the one that makes the analysts sit up straight, is their projection for 2026.
Right.
They're forecasting to hit $100 billion in revenue.
Let's just pause on that for a second. $100 billion. I mean, I know we throw around big numbers in these deep dives, but that's GDP territory for some small countries.
It is huge. And to put it in industry terms, they're projecting to be the only healthcare company to cross that threshold in 2026.
The only one.
But honestly, the raw number isn't even the most interesting part. What's fascinating is where that money is coming from. Because it's not coming from the stuff you buy at the grocery store anymore.
Right. Because they spun all that off. Kenvue is gone. So this $100 billion is pure high science.
Precisely. The mission of this deep dive is really to figure out how a company that started in 1886 making sterile surgical dressings is suddenly positioning itself as a sci-fi tech giant.
They're shedding their skin.
Completely. They're getting out of consumer goods, they're spinning off orthopedics, which we definitely need to talk about later, and they're betting the entire house on what they call innovative medicine and MedTech.
It feels risky, doesn't it? Like they're trading steady and safe for high tech and high stakes.
It is.
I was reading through the transcript, and some of the things they're working on, reprogramming cells, robotic surgeries, heart zappers. It sounds amazing, but does it make business sense? Or is it just flashy R&D?
That is the core tension here. Can they make the flashy stuff profitable enough to justify dumping the steady stuff?
If you look at their strategy, they're moving away from commodities and into cures.
The cures.
And cures has a very different margin profile than hip replacements or, shampoo.
So let's talk about those cures. Section 1 of their strategy is innovative medicine, and specifically oncology. They made a pretty aggressive claim on the call.
Oh, very.
They want to be the #1 oncology company in the world, not just a player, #1.
It's a massive ambition, and the engine room for that ambition is multiple myeloma.
Okay, for those of us who aren't oncologists, can you give us the quick primer? What are we dealing with here?
Sure. So multiple myeloma is a blood cancer. It forms in plasma cells. And historically, it's been incredibly difficult to treat because it just tends to come back. It relapses.
But J&J has effectively built a fortress around this disease. They have 4 different medicines for it. In the earnings call, they dropped a stat that just blew my mind.
What was it?
80% of patients with this specific cancer get treated with at least one J&J regimen.
80%. That's not market share. That's market ownership.
It really is. And the anchor is a drug called DARZALEX. In the pharmaceutical world, if a drug makes $1 billion, we pop the champagne and call it a blockbuster.
Yeah.
DARZALEX brought in over $14 billion in 2025.
$14 billion for one drug.
And it's still growing at 22%. That is just unheard of for a product that's already that large.
How is that possible?
Usually growth slows way down when you get that big, right? The law of large numbers. But DARZALEX has become the gold standard. It is the backbone of treatment.
But see, this is where I get skeptical. You have a $14 billion cash cow. The temptation for a big company is usually to just ride that wave and stop innovating.
Of course.
Why disrupt yourself if you're making that much money?
That is the trap most companies fall into. But J&J seems terrified of standing still. They spent a huge chunk of the call talking about the next generation, specifically CARVYKTI. This is their CAR-RT cell therapy.
CAR-RT. Okay, this is the reprogramming stuff I mentioned earlier.
Right. So in plain English, they take the patient's own immune cells out of their body, they take them to a lab, genetically engineer them to recognize and attack specific cancer markers, and then infuse them back into the patient.
It's personalized medicine in the most literal sense.
It is.
It also sounds incredibly complex and expensive to scale. You can't just print pills in a factory. You have to handle each patient's cells individually.
It's a logistical nightmare, frankly. They are solving it. They announced they've treated over 10,000 patients now.
Wow.
That proves they can scale the manufacturing. And the results? Well, they're seeing deep, durable responses in people who had basically run out of options. They're hesitant to use the C-word cure,
Of course.
but these are functional cures for many people.
And they aren't just relying on one or the other. They mentioned combining them, right? There was some new data about TECVALI.
Yes, TECVALI. This is a bispecific antibody. Think of it like a magnet that grabs the cancer cell with one arm and the immune cell with the other and just smashes them together.
Right.
They released data showing that when you combine TECVALI with DARZALEX, you get an 83% reduced risk of progression or death.
83%. That is, I mean, in cancer trials, you're usually happy with single-digit improvements. 83% is startling.
It changes the standard of care. It means J&J has a product for every single stage of the disease, from diagnosis all the way to late-stage relapse.
Okay, so they own blood cancer. But what about solid tumors? Like lung cancer, bladder cancer. They had updates there too, but I caught something about administration time that I wanted to dig into.
You're thinking of Rybrevant for lung cancer.
Yes. They launched a subcutaneous version, which just means a shot under the skin instead of an IV drip. Is that really a game changer?
Oh, it is.
It sounds like a convenience feature, like power windows in a car.
Yeah.
Nice to have, but not revolutionary.
It's massive, actually.
Yeah.
And here's why. It's not just about patient comfort, though that is huge. An IV infusion for these drugs can take hours. You're just tethered to a chair.
Right.
A subcutaneous injection takes minutes.
Ah, so it's about throughput.
Exactly. If you are a hospital, you can treat 5, maybe 10 times as many patients in the same chair in the same day. It frees up the clinic. It reduces the burden on the whole healthcare system. That is a major selling point.
That makes a lot of sense. Efficiency is its own form of innovation. Now, you also mentioned a pretzel for bladder cancer. I literally wrote pretzel in my notes with a question mark.
Yes, Inlexo. It's a drug delivery system for the bladder. It looks a bit like a pretzel or a coil. You insert it, and it just slowly releases medicine over time.
So why is that better than just taking a pill or getting surgery?
Because the alternative for high-risk bladder cancer is often a radical cystectomy.
Which is?
That means surgically removing the entire bladder.
Oof.
Yeah, it's a life-altering surgery. You need a bag or a reconstructed bladder. If Inlexo can deliver the drug directly to the tumor and save the organ, that is profound. It's what they mean when they say innovative medicine.
It's preserving quality of life, not just extending it.
That's it.
Okay, I'm seeing the vision here.
Yeah.
But we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Or maybe the gorilla, Stelara. This has been J&J's massive cash cow for years, but the patent expired. The floodgates opened.
They did.
In Q4, sales dropped almost 50%.
It's the classic patent cliff. It's the nightmare scenario for any pharma company. Imagine your salary getting cut in half overnight because your contract ended.
Yeah.
That's what happened to the Stelara revenue stream.
So why isn't the stock tanking? Why isn't there just panic in the boardroom?
Because they built a bridge before the cliff arrived. And that bridge is Tremfya.
Tremfya. I swear they need better names. But tell me about the numbers.
So while Stelara was collapsing, Tremfya grew 65% in the fourth quarter. It blew past $5 billion in total sales. It's filling the hole almost as fast as it's being created.
That is just a masterclass in portfolio management. But they also teased something for next year, Icotide. And this is where I got a little confused. They said it's an oral pill for psoriasis and IBD. Isn't Tremfya an injection?
Correct.
Are they cannibalizing their own product? I mean, if I can take a pill, why would I ever take a shot?
You wouldn't. And that is the brilliance of it.
Right.
If J&J launches Icotide, yes, it might eat into Tremfya's market share eventually.
Yeah.
But if J&J doesn't launch it, a competitor will.
So they're choosing to disrupt themselves.
Before someone else does. An oral pill with the efficacy of a biologic injection is the holy grail in immunology. If Icotide works as promised in 2026, it secures their dominance for another decade.
It's ruthless. I like it. Let's shift gears to the other half of this $100 billion pie. We've talked about the chemistry. Now let's talk about the machinery. MedTech.
This is where the lines really start to blur between a healthcare company and, well, a tech company.
So they have a cardiovascular business worth $9 billion. And they kept talking about Varipulse. It uses something called PFA pulsed field ablation. I looked this up, and the physics are kind of wild.
It is. So to treat AFib, that's irregular heartbeats, you need to destroy the tissue that's sending the chaotic electrical signals.
Right.
The old way, thermal ablation, basically involved burning the tissue with heat or freezing it with cold.
Burning the heart sounds imprecise.
It has risks. You can accidentally damage the esophagus or nerve sitting right behind the heart. Thermal energy spreads.
Okay.
PFA is different. It uses high-voltage electric fields to punch microscopic holes in the cell membranes of the heart tissue.
Like an electric fence.
Sort of,
Oh,
but
crap.
highly tuned. The frequency is set so that it only affects heart muscle cells. It doesn't hurt the nerves or the esophagus. It's incredibly precise, and it's fast.
So way less collateral damage.
Much less. And J&J has already treated 40,000 patients with Varipulse. They are ramping this up aggressively. They actually said they plan to launch a new catheter every single year through the end of the decade.
That sounds like Apple's strategy. A new iPhone every September, a new heart catheter every January.
It's the techification of medicine. You can't sit on a device for 10 years anymore. The innovation cycle is just sped up. If you aren't releasing updates, you're dying.
Which brings us to the robots. The Ottava. This is their challenger to Da Vinci, right?
It is. And this is a very high-stakes poker game. They submitted it to the FDA as a de novo device.
De novo. I know that means from new in Latin, but what does it actually mean for the FDA?
Well, think of it this way. Usually when you file for a new medical device, you use the 510(k) path.
Yeah.
You basically tell the FDA, hey, I'm building a house. It's just like my neighbor's house, which you already approved.
Same bricks, same plumbing.
Exactly. And the FDA says, okay, cool, quick approval. But de novo is different. You're walking in and saying, I'm not building a house. I'm building a completely new type of shelter that relies on anti-gravity and solar glass.
You're telling the FDA there's no predicate device. Nothing like this exists.
Nothing.
That sounds incredibly risky. It means the FDA has to scrutinize every single bolt and line of code.
It is risky. It takes
Yeah.
longer. But if you get it approved, you've created a new category. You have a moat. J&J is betting that Ottava's architecture, which is supposedly much more flexible and integrated than current robots, is different enough to warrant that classification.
And they are also putting robots in places we haven't seen them before. You mentioned kidney stones.
The Monarch platform, yes.
Yeah.
Treating kidney stones is usually a brute force affair. Using a robot to navigate the ureter allows for precision that human hands just can't match.
So it's about consistency.
It's about taking a procedure that is variable and dependent on the surgeon's skill and making it consistent and reproducible with robotics.
It all sounds like a victory lap. $100 billion, curing cancer, robots. But we do need to take off the rose-colored glasses for a minute.
For sure.
It wasn't all high fives on the call. There are some serious headwinds.
Absolutely. We have to look at the liabilities. The biggest shadow is still the talc litigation.
The baby powder lawsuits. This has been dragging on for what feels like a decade.
It has. And it's costing them real money. Litigation expenses rose to about $0.9 billion recently. There was a glimmer of hope for J&J, though a Dubir report was released.
A Daubert what now?
It's a legal standard. Basically, the judge decides which expert witnesses are actually using real science versus, junk science.
Okay.
The report threw out some of the plaintiff's experts, which helps J&J's argument that the science doesn't support the cancer claims.
Yeah.
But they are still appealing other parts. It's just messy, and it's expensive.
And then there's the macroeconomic stuff, tariffs.
Right. With the geopolitical climate shifting, tariffs are biting. They mentioned a specific $500 million hit in 2026 just from tariffs in MedTech.
$500 million. Just a race.
Gone. And yet, and this is the part that really surprised me, the CFO, Joe Walk, insisted that despite the tariffs, despite the litigation costs, they still expect their operational margins to improve.
How is that even possible? You lose $500 million in tariffs and your margins go up.
Efficiency. And that brings us to the biggest strategic move of all, the one we teased at the beginning, the orthopedics spinoff.
Right. They're selling the bone business, and I really struggle with this one. J&J has been fixing broken bones for a century. It's a steady business. People are always going to break hips and knees. Why get rid of it?
Because steady is the enemy of growth. Orthopedics is a mature market. It grows at maybe 3, 4, 5% a year. It's reliable, but it's slow.
It's a tugboat.
It's a tugboat, exactly. And J&J wants to be a fleet of speedboats. By keeping orthopedics, their overall growth rate looks lower. By spinning it off, which they plan to do by mid-2027, they instantly change their math.
Oh.
Post-spin, they estimate that 70% of their portfolio will be in high-growth markets.
So this is purely a financial engineering play to make the company look faster by cutting off the slow limb.
It's financial, but it's also operational focus. It's the pure play theory. The idea is that a conglomerate that does everything does nothing well.
Right.
By separating, the new J&J can focus 100% on high-tech drugs and devices.
Yeah.
And the new ortho company can focus 100% on bones, without fighting for budget against a cancer drug.
It really is the end of an era, though. It's the final nail in the coffin of the old General Electric-style conglomerate model.
It is. The age of the massive, diversified giant is over. Specialization is the new king.
So bringing this all together, we have a company shedding its history to chase a high-tech future. What is the one thing, the single takeaway for someone listening to this deep dive?
I think the takeaway is that J&J is executing one of the most complex pivots in corporate history, and they're doing it while growing. They're proving that a legacy giant can learn new tricks.
That's a good way to put it.
They're moving from volume selling lots of Band-Aids to value selling life-saving cures and robots.
And for the listener, why should they care? Aside from, the stock price.
You should care, because this dictates the speed of medical innovation. When a company with $100 billion in firepower decides to go all in on things like CAR-T and robotic surgery, the entire field moves faster.
Right.
It means treatments that used to take hours will take minutes. It means cancers that used to be death sentences might become manageable chronic conditions.
It sounds optimistic, but I have to ask you, does it work long-term?
That is the question that keeps me up at night.
Let's hear it.
They survived the Stelara cliff. They have this catapult momentum. But in pharma, the clock is always ticking. The patent for DARZALEX will eventually expire. The patent for Tremfya will eventually expire.
Of course.
My question is, can a company this size actually move fast enough to outrun its own patent cliffs forever? They're betting the house on their ability to invent the next big thing over and over and over again on a schedule.
It's a treadmill that never stops.
It never stops. And the faster you run, the harder it is to keep up the pace.
Well, on that slightly terrifying note, we are going to wrap it up. Johnson & Johnson.
Huh?
$100 billion, robot surgeons, and a race against time.
Never a dull moment.
Thanks for breaking it down with us. And to everyone listening, thanks for trusting us with your time. Stay curious.